Okay, so after much ado, the mic works. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I am V. I am a fantasy and romance writer, currently working on my debut novel, Seven. This is her. This is the baby. She is 176,565 words. And basically, I wanted to make a longer version of a video that I posted on here earlier. It's like a recycle from TikTok because, the ban and everything. But it's basically something that I wish I knew when I was younger and wanting to write and like make my first book, pretty much. Something I really wish I knew, but I feel like is not, I just feel like when I was like 12 all the way up until like 20, nobody was talking about this. Nobody was saying this to me. Nobody was like, hey, this is what your problem is. I feel like you have this great pressure to write a book. And when you write it, you expect it to feel and look exactly like a book. Like you are thinking that when you're done, it's going to be something that you can pick up, you can read. Everything like transitions together. The plot is plotting. There's foreshadowing. There's clear conflict. There's tension. There's all the things that you read in a perfectly polished, traditionally published book or an indie book. But at this time, most books were traditionally published. I don't think I even knew that you could independently publish. Like, I don't even think that was a thing. But nobody told me, hey, Miranda, come here. Let me just tell you real quick. You little perfectionist, you little cutie pie, your book is not going to look like a book when you first write it. Like, your first draft is going to be total garbage. It's going to be a little dumpster fire. Like, if you could see, look at all these notes. Look at this. Like, the amount of B-roll I have of me editing and like writing for like on this, like that is like in the moment, real life, like edits that I'm making. It is not for looks. It is for like the for real, for real. There were problems with this first draft, as it should be, because I'm going to tell you what the purpose of the first draft really, truly is. The thing that nobody else tells you. Each draft has a purpose. The purpose of the first draft is to tell yourself the story for the very first time. Just let that sink in. You literally have an idea for a story, and maybe you've outlined, maybe you have a really detailed outline. I literally had a friend message me today and be like, my outline is 30,000 words, which is a small novella. That's cool, that's fine. But if you're a pantser like me, or even somebody who has an outline, when you sit down to write this first draft, it is going to be the first time ever that you are telling yourself the story in excessive detail. You are bound to get some parts and aspects of it wrong, right? Like you're gonna get it wrong. You should not be focused on perfect prose, metaphors, similes, beautiful alliteration, so vivid, like gorgeous, vividly like immersive descriptions of things. Like that's not what your focus is. Like if that happens while you're writing your first draft, that is awesome. That is bomb diggity big. But that's not the purpose of the first draft. The first draft is just to get the story out. It's just to make sure that the pages are no longer blank. The purpose of the second draft is to make the first draft functional. And that means the transitions are smooth. That means the character arcs are actually arcing. They're actually getting from point A to point B. There's change, there's growth, there's evolution. Like the themes, are the themes actually there? Are you actually conveying them in like a convincing way? Like that is when you do all the injecting. That is in the second draft. The first draft is just about getting it done. You cannot have, I like to call it layering. I literally had a conversation with a friend the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like a writer because right now with being a stay-at-home mom of two under two and having all these different things on my plate while trying to write this book, sometimes I sit down to write and I write in layers, which means like for me, most of the time I see scenes in like dialogue and then I see like what they're wearing and then I see like actions. Actually, I see actions next. I see dialogue and then I see actions and then I see what they're wearing and then I see the setting and then I hear the noises and then I feel the textures. And so that means that like one scene I might pass over like 7 times layering because the first time I get the inspiration for it and I sit down to work on it, I don't have all the puzzle pieces together. And I was telling my friend, I was like, you know what? I honestly sometimes feel like I'm not a good writer because the process doesn't look super eloquent. It doesn't all happen at the same time, but it's not supposed to happen at the same time. It's literally just not supposed to. Each draft has a purpose and you have to allow the first draft to fulfill and live in its purpose. Don't try to make it into something that it's not supposed to be yet. It'll get there. It's just not supposed to be there yet. And like also, I think part of the problem is like people will see like on this one and on other posts, like I talk about, I wrote this draft. I wrote this in 2 months. But the only reason I was able to write it in 2 months is because I was no longer worried about making it perfect. I just wanted to get it done because I knew once the story was out and all of the ideas for the actual story itself could be released from my brain because it was down on paper, I could read it over again and I could be like, oh, okay, this doesn't work. This fits here. This fits there. Let's add this. Okay, her character arc is not convincing because we spent most of the time focused on following love. You know what I mean? Like, or their connection is not real because we spent most of the time thinking about her trauma. Like, I can see it. But when it's in your head, you can't see it. It's just like fogging everything up. So you can't expect to be Stephen King on your first draft. You just can't expect that. The other thing is writing is a skill. Some people are talented. Some people have a natural knack for the words. You know, they have a natural knack for like beautiful prose. But overall, writing is a skill. It's something you get better at over time the more you do it. Practice makes perfect. Think of your drafts as practice. Over time, you will get to that version of it that you are so proud of, but it's going to take time and you have to allow yourself to run your race at your pace. My fear for people who are not understanding what the purpose of the first draft is that they will not finish the book. They have these amazing ideas, life-changing ideas. This is destined to be somebody's favorite book. I truly believe that. Like, I think every book that is coming out right now is destined to be on someone's bookshelf and they're going to be like, this is my favorite book ever. I freaking love it. And they're going to miss out on that moment, on that DM, on that fan letter, on literally, they're going to miss out on it because they're so worried about trying to make it perfect the first time around. And then they convince themselves when it's not perfect the first time around that the story is not worth telling. If the story is on your heart and in your mind, it's worth telling. It's just not going to come out perfectly the first time. It's going to take some work. And that's okay. It's honestly really fun. Each stage of the drafting process is really, really fun. Enjoy it. Let it be what it's supposed to be. Let go of perfection. Tell it bye-bye. And honestly, who wants a perfect book? What does perfect even mean? Honestly, that's going to be the thing that really helps you. For me, perfect is a book that is connective, evocative, and makes you think, right? Like, I want this to be healing for someone who's been in a similar situation and eye-opening. But also for Black girls everywhere, I want them to believe in love. I want them to believe in choosing themselves. That would be perfect for me for this book for 7. Perfect is not having the most precise description of what a dress looks like or how a door sounds when it closes. It's the overall themes and pictures. So this is my very long-winded way of telling you that if you are sitting down to write your book and you're getting word block, writer's block, because you are going over and over how to say, she smiled at him, he made her laugh, because you feel like there's a perfect way to say that. Maybe there is a perfect way for you to say that, but for right now, just let yourself say he made her smile. Just be okay with the fact that you might say smile 10 times in the same paragraph. You can go back later with a clear mind, less weight, and think of a different word, a simile. You can pull out your thesaurus then and like do it up, but let it be done, because the satisfaction of being finished is unlike anything you have ever experienced before, especially if you were like me or were like me, where I had literally never finished a book before. And I've been trying to write a book since I was 12, literally held up by trying to be a perfectionist and writing when I felt like it. But that's another video. So anyway, I hope you guys found this helpful. If you need some practical tips on how to let go of that perfectionism and just write forward, which is one of my mottos, leave me a comment. Let's talk about it. Let's dig into it, because I want to see you guys get published. I mean, let's get published together. This is the writing journey together. I'm not an expert, but I am definitely down to share what's been working for me. And this, just the first draft itself, has been life-changing for me. So anyway, until next time, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment, share, all the things. And I'll be back to yap at you again.